in the heart of Indonesia. We are on a mission to uncover the secrets of our ancient ancestors, of which the international media and almost everyone does not associate our melanin-dominant race with Indonesia, but with pale-skinned Chinese and a few Vedoid-looking races. This is a third tragedy arising from the propaganda that has been orchestrated on the earth on a very large scale. Yet without the knowledge of the Paekche's principles, a book and a research done by Forensic Historian Bayemy Biyick, we will not really know what we are going to share today or apply it across the whole board. And the Chinese, the pale Chinese, will continue to dominate and take over our lands. Our own melanin-dominant race in Indonesia have been supplanted by the descendants of the light-skinned Chinese invaders currently ruling Indonesia. And this is the look that they want the whole world to know, to appreciate, to understand, and to associate with the indigenous people of Indonesia. Yet, there is an amazing Indonesian worth saving today. Marfado family stands and fight for the Western Papua, East Timor, and many other places in Indonesia that has been taken over by the pale and light Chinese. Let us understand that Indonesian indigenous people discovered that island thousands and thousands of years ago, when there was no European on earth and when there was no Chinese on earth or Asian on earth, but only melanin-dominant people. This is the proof of paleontology, anthropology, Asian civilization, Indonesian pre-colonial history, and Indonesian prehistoric society that stretched from Hamid, Mexico, back to Indonesia, with the structures and megalithic structures that the ancient Bantus, the ancient melanin-dominant humans, the Africans, built across the whole earth. The 1% Chinese that control Indonesia denies it has any indigenous peoples. You can go to this website and read about it. Yet Indonesia is home to over 70 million indigenous peoples. But the government of China ruling in Indonesia today claims that there are no indigenous people there, yet we've got a lot of them today. Let us continue to look at the Indonesian worth saving for us today. He's an African Muntu, he's a melanin-dominant human being. We know that translation from the inlander in Dutch, the term which was first coined by the Dutch colonial administration that instituted apartheid in Indonesia by lumping up diverse groups of local inhabitants of Indonesian archipelago, mostly for social discrimination purposes. During the colonial period, the Dutch instilled a regime of three-level racial separation. The first class race being the Europeans themselves, the second class being the partial European races or mulattoes, inclusive of the foreign Orientals, the Chinese, the Arabs, and the Indians. What happened then was that the inlander, the natives, the original, the actual people who owned Indonesian islands, melanin-dominant human Bantus, were classified as the third race at the bottom. These included the Javanese, the Malays, the Dayaks, the Papuans, and the Moluccans. The colonial system was similar to the caste system in Hispanic America as well as in apartheid South Africa, which prohibited interracial understanding and living together and equality. It is very, very clear, therefore, that these are the indigenous people who are now being overlooked, and many of them are amazing and fighting to save their race. As illustrated in the Paekche's principle, the pale Chinese follow some rigid steps that they have followed when they took over China and liquidated all melanin-dominant black people who used to live in China. They commit genocide. They move massive populations into the new lands. They then proceed to steal the cultural practices that they find in those places and take them as theirs and promote them as theirs, as their discoveries, such as what you have heard, like the Chinese medicine or Chinese alphabet. Today, they are using their economic muscle they received from their cousins, the Europeans, to dominate the whole of the earth. They step forward to produce other races and whitening principles. Again, they put pressure like you see here, Indonesian pressure over Papua New Guinea, over military activities of Western Papua supporters, and they continue to do the same all over the earth. The Chinese moved into Indonesia around the 13th century. Many began as temporary residents and eventually took control of the economy and took control of the population and took control of the politics of Indonesia. These are fake Indonesians that we are going to show here. All of them that are promoted into the world, they are descendants of invaders. They are fakes, they are not originals. Sukarno is fake, is a Chinese. Suharto is fake, is a Chinese. Habib with his other invader, John Howard of Australia, they are all fake. They are not indigenous in the lands that they occupy or rule today. Same with Abdurrahman. Megawatt Sukarnoputri is a Chinese. It's Chinese. And Babang Susilo Yudhoyono is a Chinese. And Joko Widodo, all these are Chinese descendants of the invaders. The time for us to unite and fight against the invaders is now, is today. The mulatto ones and the pale ones continue to dominate and to commit a lot of genocide all over the shore, and our leadership is very, very quiet and silent. The colonizer is very smart. Whenever he moves to a nation place, he claims to have discovered it, and he renames it after his own important institutions. It is important to remember that before this, before the foreign traders and explorers set foot and later set camp and stayed in the archipelago of so-called Indonesia, it was home to hundreds of native ethnic groups with their own social systems and authorities. A single name to define the whole area was non-existent and unnecessary, and the concept of unifying all the groups was unthinkable. There is racial unity that was supposed to be operating and that is supposed to operate. And these are the original names that these islands had. Indonesia comes from invaders, Indo from Greek, India, and Indonesia, islands, far islands. It's not a part of our vocabulary. The first of the Indonesian kingdoms that we know anything about is the Srivijaya, which lasted to about 1400 AD. It was an ancient Malayan kingdom on the island of Sumatra. At around 500 AD, a new Srivijayan center began to develop around the present day town of Palembang. And the founders looked exactly like any melanin-dominant human beings you can find everywhere. This is Central Java, 800 AD. And this is also in Borneo, 700 AD. And Eastern Java, 1400 AD. They are not Chinese or Pale Asians, but they are melanin-dominant human beings. The same with the head of Buddha in Java, Indonesia, 800 AD. Sumatra, Indonesia, Srivijaya, 800 AD. These are original Bantus, melanin-dominant human beings. And this one is a fake invader, as well as this one who is clearly a mulatto, a mixture of indigenous and other Chinese. There are Bantus in Indonesia, as well as many other places. When we look at the similarities, we can find them here. The Bantus in Indonesia, here, as well as the Zulu warriors in Southern Africa. Look, they are the same people and same style. The building structures, the Dani tribe hut in Indonesia looks exactly like the Zulu hut in Southern Africa. We are the same folks, we are the same people. The Banjari people of Borneo became ancestors of the Malagasy and Comorian people. They are melanin dominant, as you can see in this image. In 2010, a Dani woman in Indonesia, Papua, photographed by Eret A. Butler, looks exactly a melanin dominant female. Asmati tribe's young man and his dog, melanin dominant, and a melanin dominant warrior is not a pale Asian. These people migrated out of Africa into East Asia as far as the Pacific Islands and Australia. Deep in the heart of Indonesia, we have discovered and uncovered the secrets of our ancient ancestors now being destroyed by an international conspiracy started by the Europeans, the Dutch, and now continues under the genocidal Chinese Muslim hegemon, while our African leadership is blind and quiet about it. Cleansing here, action near Pyongyang, on April 26, 1949, you can see that they are killing and destroying melanin-dominant human beings. These are the Dutch. The Dutch soldiers with their laundry baboons, racial mixing, taking our sisters, our mothers, and using them as sex toys. It's very, very clear on this image. East Timor, Indonesia killing fields, and the Canada company is also complicit on this. The killing and destroying and taking over all our resources. Indonesia militarizes mines. Western Papuans fight for independence. These Western Papuans look like you and me if you are melanin dominant. You can see here Joko Widodo wearing his military fatigue with a mulatto here and his other races. All of them fighting to destroy and take over the whole of Ireland and liquidate and remove every melanin dominant trace there. You think this is a joke? You have to read the Paekche principle to understand that this is very, very serious. Our presidents and our leaders are oblivious to anything of what we are saying in this video. They think these are our friends, not knowing that they are greeting and smiling and laughing and loving the invader who is destroying their own people, their own brothers and sisters everywhere they go in this world. We're looking at the indigenous people here, East Timor, in Dili, capital city, and also Paneng Makassar. These are melanin dominant brothers and sisters, our own, just like you and me. These are the melanin dominant Bantus who needs our support. Amazing Indonesians worth saving, worth helping, and worth fighting with to preserve our own race, because they came from Kokisele and moved across all the islands right to Indonesia. This happened about 50,000 plus or minus 10,000 years ago. They are the same people like you and me today in Africa. He is me and you if you have a Mahatic heart. When he is in trouble, you are in trouble. You should feel for him, and you should love him, and you should desire unity to work with him, to support his desire, to communicate with him, to include him in all your endeavors. If you have got some advantages, and if you feel like you are being pushed to help these people, to support them, you must remember that you will be saving us all. Help spread this message. You can share this video with many people that you know, social media network. There's no use of you listening to this video and then going on to another video without putting some effort. That little effort to share it, whether on Facebook, on WhatsApp, or on any platform, is better than just listening and forgetting about it. Share this video. If you can offer material support, get in touch with us on join@marifado.com. Then we can pass your message and pass your support to the relevant groups that are fighting for the liberation of Western Papua, and to preach and send the message that we are all one. We are all melanin dominant. We have our differences. We should never be the same in every sphere of philosophy and life, but we are the same by race and origin. We all came from one melanin dominant ancestry and spread all over the earth. So we are one. As long as we've got Mahatic heart, we are also one. Till we meet again, your Hamaneja Topi, priest teacher Rabbi Elem Tumizulu Kunikenim Jagamskan, saying Indonesia is a melanin dominant Bantu African island, and the people that live there are also Bantus like you and me. Amen.